First, welcome. Good morning. A good rainy morning here in Washington, D.C. My name is David Quam. I'm a partner here at Nelson Mullins. Welcome to our firm. The firm has over 550 attorneys. We're in the AmLaw 100. We have very diverse practice areas. It is a privilege for me. I'm part of the government relations team here at Nelson Mullins to be working with my counsel, Stephen Schwarber, who came up with this concept from the energy group that resiliency was an issue that really needed to be addressed. And so the firm's known for a couple of things, not only energy in a lot of different areas, but as you can see, we love our real estate. So enjoy the view. I recommend that you find another policy briefing sometime in the spring when we use the patio. It's an epic place to both visit, entertain, and network. And so it's a privilege to be able to use this space and to have you here this morning. I also want to say thank you to a couple of our partners who really joined us in putting this event together. Charles Henrick of the Citizen for Responsible Energy Forum, and also Dave McCarthy of Potential Energy. Without them and sort of their thoughts, both with regard to speakers and concept and how we do something a little bit different, this would not have come together. And so when we sat down originally to talk about grid resiliency, we said, what can we do that's a little bit different? What can we do that brings this home? So you can have policy discussions, you can talk about DOE, you can talk about the NOPR, you can do any one of those things could be its own event. We wanted to do something a little bit more comprehensive. And so we wanted to both have a policy program that really talks about what the issues are, stuff that's before all companies, all governments, but then also have a solutions panel. Talk about how can you solve this? And then in addition to that, do a little bit of show and tell, a touch and feel. So it's not just solutions that you're talking about at an open forum, not something you just see on PowerPoint, but something where you can actually go see what is being done by some very creative people and very creative companies. So I'm going to encourage you all for this morning, not only, please participate in the panels, ask tough questions, let's have a robust discussion, but then stay afterwards, visit with some of our vendors who have put up really examples of some of the solutions and what can be done moving forward. Now, real quickly before we get started and before I turn the panel over, the way I come to the issue of resiliency, I'm a government relations generalist, is the best way to put it. I was with the National Governors Association for over 14 years, leading a lot of their lobbying efforts. I'm not an energy expert. However, I spent a lot of time with governors who had to deal with a lot of major recovery efforts. And so a quick story when it comes to resiliency and the way I think about this. Governors, when they get together at some of their annual meetings, will have what's called a governors-only meeting. They kick out all the staff and governors talk to governors. During one of those meetings, I actually was privileged to sit in on it. This was right after Hurricane Sandy, right after the Sandy Hook shooting, and right after some of the tornadoes in Oklahoma. And those three governors presented on what they had to deal with regard to an emergency, recovery, and then what they were going to do for the long term. Governor Christie, in talking about Hurricane Sandy, talked about resiliency. He talked about what it meant for that grid to go down, what it meant for 2.7 million people to lose power, what it meant that 4 days later, more than 500,000 still did not have power. And the issues around the grid and the fact that if you don't have electricity, you can't pump gas. If you can't pump gas, the trucks that need to clear the roads can't get there. If the trucks that clear the roads can't get there, you can't get people to the people in need. And so resiliency is not just about keeping the lights on. Resiliency is about supporting an entire system, not only from an economy, a community, but also recovery and emergencies. So this is a really critical issue that politically means something to governors. As a citizen, it means something to me. By the way, anybody in Falls Church is delayed 2 hours this morning because of power outages. I thought that was a nice little touch. I don't know who was responsible for that. Good example right off the top. But resiliency is one of those issues from, again, policy solutions and looking forward. I will say this too, from a state aspect, we've seen this trend over the last several years. And again, this is an issue that touches all levels of government, federal, state, local. The private sector all have to work together. You saw states moving to a much more aggressive, much more thoughtful, much more comprehensive long-term How are we going to be resilient? How can we help our companies? If we are going to rebuild this infrastructure, how do we harden it? How do we make sure that it is still going to be in place during the next storm, during the next natural event, during the next not natural event? How do we help each other? So I think today's discussion will touch on a lot of those issues. I know personally it's of great importance to me. The people in this room, this is a great collection of folks from all walks of life. We have folks from the Hill, we have folks from state groups, we have folks from local government, obviously the private sector. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoy your time. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Charles to introduce our first panel. Thank you.